Got a short one for you while I'm working on the Titanic mouth-washing video that I've been putting together for the last month.
How long is this going to take?
I recently saw a video talking about this charming little browser game called Closing at 2. As someone who's worked as a bartender for about 5 years, technically 7, minus 2 because of the pandemic, so 5. Anyways, I thought I'd check it out and give it my thoughts. The story of Closing at 2 is a night working as a bartender and making drinks for 3 of your regulars, clicking and dragging ingredients to your cocktail shaker and playing a little timing minigame to shake your cocktail. It's fun, just like bartending can be quite fun, but it also can be quite stressful. Tonight is different from every other night, and for some reason, each time your customers take a drink, they become more and more unhinged and crazy. You serve each customer 3 rounds of their drink order. Each time their traditional drink order gets a little more boozy or strange, but you make the drinks. That's your job. Realistically, if somebody showed up looking like this after one drink, I'd stop serving them immediately and inform my manager to call the authorities because something was clearly wrong. Despite that, I'm happy to suspend my disbelief for the sake of the story. Your 3 regulars are Henry, a man whose work life isn't going well. I can't tell you how many Henrys I've served. Lisa, a woman who just finished writing her thesis for her graduation. And Marcus, a kind man who checks in with you, but clearly hides his pain behind booze. I have also served a lot of Marcuses in my day. Henry wants an old-fashioned, Lisa wants a mojito, and Marcus wants a tequila sunrise. All good drinks, classics. Checking the recipes the game has for these drinks, they're pretty accurate, except that you don't shake old-fashions or tequila sunrises. You build those in the glass, and you don't often put your garnish in the shaker unless you're making a smash, although I do that when I make a mojito for myself. Also, you never shake soda water because Anyways, enough nitpicking. After the first round, Henry looks stark raving mad. Lisa has pulled out a bunch of her hair and has gone crazy. And Marcus looks like he's either hurt himself or been hurt by somebody else and has also gone crazy. They all ask for their drinks with changes to the specs, like more booze, more citrus, or whatever. They all come back again for a third round, and they look even worse, even going as far as to threaten the bartender, which is never a good idea. I'm not gonna serve you anything if you do that shit. If you make a mistake while making a drink for these regulars as they get crazier, this happens. Nice. Also, what's really fun about this game is that as your character starts getting more and more stressed, the notes section disappears. If you forget the recipes and don't understand what the modifications the crazies are asking you for, you're going to feel a little threatened. Hell, I know the recipes and I felt threatened. This also speaks to a little annoyance behind the bar. When somebody asks you for the most outlandish drink order, expecting you to just fully understand, despite the fact that it's probably something they've just made up, and then they get angry at you when you don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, sorry, I don't know what a Bowser's Big Bean Mojito is, you fuck. You make the last round of drinks for them, and then you close the restaurant. Your character, feeling stressed after the night they had, decides to have a drink of their own after work, and they can't stop themselves. And they probably go crazy in the end, just like the other 3. It's a simple but cool little horror story, and I loved it. Made me feel a fear that I have felt on the job before. Taken to the nth degree, of course, but I'm gonna tell you some stories that I have from my time working as a bartender. Working behind the bar teaches you that everybody is dealing with something in their life, you know? And they can be very good at hiding it. Some people are also just crazy. And some people like to use the idea that pervades the industry that the customer is always right to abuse restaurant staff. Don't get me wrong, in any kind of sales, you have to sell what the customer is buying. So in theory, yes, they are always right. But in the service industry, there are nuances in the communication between server and customer that in my experience can make the customer dead wrong. But because of that always right idea, people get big egos and they can get very rude and sometimes vile. On top of that, there are people who are involved with shady people or organizations that you can see are clearly stressed and unwell because of their line of work. Of course, you don't know exactly what their job is, but you know there's something there. A lot of weird people have walked into the restaurants I've worked in. Let's get to it. Story number 1, the mysterious disappearance. I worked in a bar in the heart of downtown Toronto for a few years. During this time, I saw all kinds of people. There was this one guy. We'll call him Don. Don was a white guy who looked to be in his 40s. Bald, always wore a suit, and was a regular where I was working. He would show up just before lunch rush and stay for several hours on most days. He was always friendly to the bar staff. We had no complaints about him. However, sometimes he would come in and he would have bruises on his face, a shiner, eyes that were red, like when the blood vessels are burst. Clearly, he had been hit in the face very hard numerous times. Sometimes the bruises on his face were under large scabs that were probably severe scrapes or cuts at some point. He came in most days, and we never asked him about why he was in the state that he was. Sometimes when he showed up, there was this other man with him, a tall, wide-set, broad-shouldered, dark-skinned guy, always dressed extremely casual, like the most casual. He would walk in, sit next to Don, and Don would open the briefcase that he always had with him. Don and this other guy would talk for a short time, each getting a drink. They would exchange something, Don would put the suitcase away, the other guy would finish his drink, always pay in cash, tip very poorly, and leave very quickly, leaving Don alone at the bar to continue drinking, with a less happier attitude than before. Sometimes it's best to just keep your head down, focus on your work, for your own safety. Don was a good tipper, and he was kind to the bar staff, but I feel that Don was likely involved with the local mob or something, because one day, without warning or indication that he was dissatisfied with the service or his routine of showing up frequently as he did, Don stopped showing up, and we never see Don again. But we do start seeing somebody else. Another man, whom I will call Sean. Sean was a mid-30s looking white guy who was also balding and always wore a suit when he came in, and most days he would have bruises and scabs on his face just like Don did. Sean was also a good tipper. He too would come in just before the lunch rush and drink all day, just like Don. I never saw Sean meet up with that other guy at the bar, but I feel like Sean was maybe the new Don. The other guy probably wouldn't want to do business at the same place he did with Don because that could likely arouse suspicion among the bar staff. I don't know, but as someone working at that bar, all we could do was speculate, focus on our work, and not ask him what the hell he was up to. Unlike Don, Sean was very quiet. He kept to himself, barely said anything to anyone, apart from ordering his drink, but you could see the stress on his face almost every second that he was at the bar. He didn't hide it as well as Don did. A couple times I caught him crying, sitting at the bar. I'd ask him if he was okay, and he'd say he was fine. What was more clear than anything was that he dreaded where he had just come from, and he dreaded where he had to go. The bar where I worked was his safe place. I don't work there anymore. I hope Sean is still showing up there and that he's okay. And hopefully he's got a better job than whatever the hell he was doing. You never know what people do outside of their usual watering hole. And sometimes it can be very unsettling to get a glimpse. Story 2. Weirdest bathroom check ever. So, at that same bar where the story with Don and Sean happened, I did some work as a busser there before I was allowed to bartend there. One night during this time, I was asked to do a bathroom check. Basically, check the men's bathroom and see if anything needed cleaning or restocking. Simple. But this one night was unlike any other, because when I checked the wheelchair accessible stall in the bathroom, I found a plastic Ziploc bag hidden behind the toilet that was soaking wet when I picked it up. I think somebody tried to flush it down the toilet, because when I grabbed the bag and saw what was in it, it was wet, it was heavy, grayish white, veiny meat thing. And there was no blood coming from this. However, it looked like it had been prepared for something. And like when I say veiny, I don't mean like, oh, you can see little things on the inside. Like, no, this thing had like an actual, like a big vein, okay? It had a big vein. It kind of looked like an organ of some kind. I brought it to my manager, a man who, in order to get into his position, had to be highly experienced in handling food. He looked at it and he did not know what it was. I threw it in the garbage and washed my hands so many times that I dried out the skin between my fingers. I don't know what the hell that was. Bonus lightning round when the crazies come in. I'm gonna list some of the unhinged and frightening things that have happened while I was present on shift as a result of crazy people. There are plenty more where this bunch came from, but honestly, I think I've repressed the more frightening and depressing ones, and I'll stick to the ones that are just a little rough. Number 1, my bar manager was serving a white woman a drink. Suddenly, she quickly jumps on the bar, reaches over it, forcefully grabs him by his beard, and yanks it close to her, and she says something to him. He never told me what it was that she said to him, but I imagine it was some crazy, creepy stuff. He was not okay. He had to go home immediately. We closed without him. Number 2, a man from a Middle Eastern community tried to get me fired for asking him to provide collateral when he asked if he could step outside for a smoke break before paying his bill. This is something that is policy in 99% of restaurants. You don't let people leave the building without paying their bill unless they leave something at the bar or they are a trusted regular. Anyways, he tried to convince my managers that I did it because I was racist. Number 3, a 50-something-year-old white guy once said he would mentor me in a very vague and nondescript job if I came to visit him in the Dominican Republic. Number 4, another man from a Middle Eastern community yelled at a female coworker of mine for asking him if he wanted to bill out after finishing his drink because we were getting close to close. He proceeded to scream at her, claiming that she was rushing him. Yet when I went over to force him to pay after hearing what had just happened, he was very nice to me. Number 5, another 50-something-year-old white guy tried to flirt with me for an entire evening when I was about 22. Before leaving, he tried to get my personal information. He was quite insistent. I ended up having to give him a fake name and a fake number just to get him to shut up. And number 6, the amount of times I have had to clean white powder off of the toilets in the years that I have done this job, I can't even count. And no, it was not all-purpose baking flour. There's far more where those came from, but you get the point. Closing at 2 made me remember some crazy times that I've had on shift, and it was a fun little game to check out. People can very quickly go from normal to absolutely terrifying in a matter of minutes, seconds even, especially while working at a restaurant in a position of service, as people seem to get this emboldened confidence while you are in a position of service. So much so that they loudly and proudly do the wildest things. While yes, closing at 2 is a bit hyperbolic with the effect alcohol has on people, it doesn't mean I haven't seen things in a similar vein while on the clock. People are truly the most terrifying things in this world. As Jean-Paul Sartre said in his famous play, No Exit, hell is other people. Hello! Thank you so much for watching the video. It means the world. Have you played Closing at 2? Have you worked at a bar? If so, I assume you have some wild stories? Hopefully, none too depressing, although I wouldn't be shocked. Are there any other short little games that I should check out? Let me know down below. So, I know this video is short, but the mouth-washing script is 21 pages, excluding dialogue. And I had a realization that it's going to be insanely long, and therefore it's going to take me an insanely long time to edit it. I wanted to maintain my almost monthly upload schedule, so I quickly whipped this one up for you. I hope you liked it. Anyways, with all that said, I will sign off. Thank you again so much for watching. I appreciate it more than you know. Stay safe out there, be kind to yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.